So, unfortunate news from the Senate yesterday is the $15 minimum wage. Now, I'm sure we are all aware of this. I know Hassan talked about it yesterday. I think Vosh talked about it yesterday. I would assume that Destiny talked about it as well. Anyone who's everyone would have been talking about it. This has been going on Twitter. It's been big. But I want to add some insight to this because I feel that a lot of people are missing a lot of a crucial explanation along $15 and why the $15 minimum wage is a necessary thing and why is it actually not enough. But perfect, what did Hassan say? Perfect should not be the enemy of good. So the idea there is, of course, if something is good and is a step in the right direction, just because it's not perfect does not mean, or that means that we should not, just because something is not perfect does not mean that is something that it is not worth us fighting for. So, sorry, I wanted to pull my chat window down here so I could see chat better off my peripheral. Now, where does the $15 minimum wage come from and what exactly is going on? Well, Business Insider, of course, Business Insider, yeah, it's weird. Anyway, a proposal to raise the minimum wage was killed in the Senate after 8 Democrats voted against the bill. Now, it should be obvious Senator Joe Manchin voted against it. We all know Joe Manchin is against basically anything that is good in the world, anything that we would value as a society. He looks at that as a disgrace to humanity. So, that should surprise no one. But here we are. 8 Senate Democrats broke from the majority on Friday and voted against a $15 minimum wage hike proposed by Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, this is, I believe, separate from the COVID relief bill. And even after the Senate voted on this, it would have to go through the House, but it probably would have passed the House, kind of knowing how the House has been voting historically. Just so you know, this is an incredibly popular bill. This is something that a lot of people want to see and a lot of people want to happen. So I don't want people to be like, oh my God, how, whatever. Like, no, this is very popular. This isn't something that's like some weird niche thing. This is a very, very, very popular bill. The ruled, so who was it? Elizabeth McDonough ruled it should be nixed. McDonough ruled that the minimum wage increase violates the Byrd Rule, which prohibits extraneous policies as part of reconciliation bill or resolution. Now, to give an idea, they were voting on this as a addendum to the COVID relief bill, which is what was proposed by Biden. This is which the reconciliation bill or resolution is to, basically for the COVID stimulus that was written through in this manner as a way to say, hey, we need to get stimulus done. It's more important that this gets out, that we get something out rather than having a 60 vote. A lot of things have been passed in like this sort of 50 vote manner, simple majority, when there's things that should be happening in but that's neither here nor there. Typically for bills, you need a 60 vote majority, not just a 50 vote. But that's kind of why our Senate sucks right now, is because neither party holds a majority in the Senate and people refuse to work together. Sucks, but it's what we have to deal with. It's what we have to live with. It's hard for me to understand how drilling for oil in the Arctic National Wildlife... Oh yeah, so Sanders replied, it's hard for me to understand how drilling for oil in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge was compliant with the Byrd Rule, but raising the minimum wage was not. So this was actually a really good thing, really, really obvious thing, where, in that they tried to attach an addendum of, oh, hey, we can allow drilling for oil in, basically they do like riders attached, which this was one of them. So, who are the 8 Democrats? Senator Joe Manchin, of course, we all know, he's basically a hot dumpster fire of shit. We've kind of come to realize, and that this would be the basic play he goes for the rest of his life, is how best can I fuck people over? Kind of not very pog, if you ask me. They say he's a moderate Democrat, but really he's a blue Republican. Yeah, I don't know. It's West Virginia, which is really weird because even yeah, Kristen Cinema of Arizona. We're gonna talk about her in a minute. John Tester of Montana said he and Tester Manchin said he and Tester hoped spending the stimulus package as a whole will be better targeted. Now, just so you know, the $15 minimum wage isn't a part of spending. That's not this is not something that the government was going to step in and be like, oh, if you can't afford to pay the $15, that's okay. We got you. It's not. This isn't targeted spending. So this argument completely null and void. This is just a bad argument. Let's be honest. Also, God, that fucking haircut, Jesus Christ. I don't know anyone who does those flat tops anymore outside of the military. Maybe he's old school military. Senator Shaheen of New Hampshire. I also think we should work out with some of these folks who are affected to help figure out how we can go through and increase the minimum wage. We have nursing homes in New Hampshire who are having difficulties employing people because of the wage scale. Now, a lot of these people are, like, a lot of these Democrats say that they're in favor of raising the minimum wage, or they think that there should be a debate around it. There should not be. There is no debate around this. It should just happen. Like, this is something that no other country in the world has a debate around. A lot of states have already implemented wage increases up to $10 or higher. Where I live, the minimum wage is 9 something, 10 something. I don't remember, but it's it's not 15. $15 is kind of what we've come to understand as a living wage in America, even though that is unfortunately a lowball estimate in some places. Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. Well, so there isn't going to be an increase to the minimum wage in this package, Hassan said in an interview with WMUR9. That being said, I think it's really important that we all recognize that people who work 40 hours a week should be able to get by. They shouldn't be living below the poverty level when they're working hard. Just so you know, when she says that, and she votes against something like this, that means that I'm saying this to make it my constituents feel like they're covered, but in all reality, I hate poor people and fuck poor people, and they need to be my slaves for the rest of life. That's really what she's saying and she means here. This is absolutely a take of, I don't actually mean the words I'm saying the words that I think will help keep me elected. Senator Angus King, God, fucking Angus King, Jesus Christ, that name, of Maine. A lot of restaurants are just hanging on by the thread. Now, this is another point that I want to get to, but this is the $15 minimum wage was a 5-year incremental gain that wouldn't be instantaneous. And yes, a lot of restaurants are barely hanging on by a thread because people don't have fucking money. Guess what would solve that problem? $15 minimum wage. Hey, Tom Carper of Delaware. What do you say? I have backed a $15 minimum wage on the federal level for years. Then why he didn't vote for this should be incredibly concerning at a time when our economy is still slowly recovering through policymakers, though policymakers have a responsibility to be especially mindful of the fragile state of small businesses across this country, many of which are fighting just to stay open during this unprecedented crisis. There's a lot of reasons for that, and a $15 minimum wage is not one of them. Let that be known. Like, that's an incredibly important thing to know, that a small business is not struggling to stay open because of this. They're struggling to stay open because the was it the PPE loans or the whatever the government backed COVID loans were, like the zero interest ones, did not go to small businesses, and these fuckers didn't make sure there was funding packages in those small business loans and substantial or substantive measures in there to make sure that they had those guidelines in. Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. Every Democrat and as many Republicans agree that the federal minimum wage of $7.25. God, I remember it was $5.50. Sorry, I was gonna say $5.15, which but $7.25 is too low and has been for too long. Just so you know, the $7.25 went into effect in 2005 or 2006. I was in high school when that went into effect. It has to be raised. President Biden has called for us to raise it to $15 an hour. I will work with my colleagues on legislation to raise the minimum wage and index it annually. The thing is if he actually wanted that, he would have voted for this. Like I said, any one of these Democrats that are saying this, any Republicans that say they want a $15 minimum wage, the fact that they did not vote for this and this did not pass unanimously means anyone who voted against this is actually hates you and they actually want you to die. But I want to get to Senator Sinema. Senator Sinema is a senator of Arizona. Now, just so you know, the minimum wage in Arizona is $11 an hour. So it would marginally affect wages there. The way she did this was like the biggest fucking Karen yes queen. Her supposed McCain moment, like, nah, about like, I'm gonna be up there and make a big deal about it and like have my purse over one hand like I'm leaving and be like, no, and then walk out like, I'm McCain. No. What she was actually doing is raising her middle finger to the working class and let it be known that all 8 of these Democrats are effectively against poor people at this point. Her statement is, senators in both parties have shown support for raising the federal minimum wage, and the Senate should hold on an open debate and amendment process on raising the minimum wage, separate from the COVID-focused reconciliation bill. A lot of the reason that COVID is in the situation that it's in now, and like the country's in the state, is because our minimum wage is fucking abysmal. Like, I'm not even like being hyperbolic when I say that. There is a lot. We're gonna open up my favorite go-to paint stream to kind of show this off. Do I need to? I'm just gonna search for it. All right. Sorry, I'm like looking at my OBS to see where it's already. I'm gonna move chat. You're moving over here. Okay, better. All right, now. Okay, good. All right, so here's the problem with what they're saying with an open debate. An open debate makes it sound like the minimum wage is something that a living wage is something that can be negotiated or can be discussed. It's not. A minimum wage and a living wage are not something that we can have a disagreement on whether or not they should be happening. They are something that unequivocally needs to happen. It does not matter. It does not matter, what these these Democrats say or these Republicans say is that we need to increase the minimum wage. That's just true. So, but why is COVID in the United States affected by the minimum wage? Or why was going into not having a high minimum wage negatively impacted COVID? Well, think of it like this. And I've done this before. But say this is your budget for month, or this is we're going to turn this into our little pie chart here, all right? Here's our pie circle chart. The ideal, hold on, I'm going to, now, the left is going to be the ideal. Ideally, most people in economics field will say a quarter of your income goes to rent. All right? Rent. All right? Actually, we're going to put that in red. That is rent. That is your living expenses. That is your rent. That is not like... And then from there, you will have another portion that goes to utilities, food, stuff to that effect. So this would be a different color. This would be like your utilities, it's like your grocery bills. Then you have and my mom always tried to teach me this, but she didn't quite understand that the economy's fucked. This section here would be something like your car. This was like other necessary spending. This would be like your car payment, maybe student loans, if you have credit card debt, phone bill, that kind of stuff, internet. And then you should have a section here. Again, this is the ideal of about 20%. So this section down here, this is 25%. This is about 20%. This down here is like 55-ish%. Another 20% should go right into your savings, and that should go in day one. And then your last, whatever 15% or whatever is just discretionary spending money. Now, I don't know anyone, certainly not myself, who is able to stick to this. I have luckily been in a situation where this was true. I think when I first started working, this may have been the case, but I was unemployed for a while, and that caused some of these bills to increase, so I can't put as much money into savings. Yeah, I have never been in this situation. I've never have. It just doesn't fucking happen. You don't see this as a situation that people can really be in. This isn't a common situation for people. So why is that? So basically, the idea would be is that say you're making $1,000 a week. So you have, holy shit, I want this one. So say you're making $1,000 per week. Well, that means that every week this should be like 200, right? That means that after the end of the year, you get like $10,000. That's a lot of money. I'm not saying that anyone should have this, but that's what like personal finance people would say is the situation, right? So this would be about 200. So at the end of the year, you'd have roughly $10,000. Now, the reality for a lot of people is this rent section is this part of the circle. It's half. That's your rent. That's half. Because rent is so ungodly fucking high than this other utilities and groceries, just feeding yourself and feeding your family, and water and electric and internet and all that kind of stuff, depending on where you live in, is hellaciously expensive. A lot of people then, and this is why I say that this is why some of the things I say, but for a number of people, this section here, sorry, hold on, I messed up. These like other bills here, like your car loans, your utility, your all that kind of other stuff, is like this. And then this last little section here, this is the reality for a lot of people. Sorry, I want dark blue. Yeah, dark blue. That's this one here. That's where I said like your car bill was, your cell phone payment, all that kind of stuff, and like other bills like internet and whatnot are in there, which is proportionally about the same. That's even if they have a car payment. Most people don't. The savings, if people are lucky, that can afford savings, and then they get a little bit of money that they spend on themselves. There's a lot of people that don't even get this. There's a lot of people that this is gone. Doesn't even exist for them. I've been there. It sucks. So in this same $1,000 a week scenario, which again is a really, I know it's really, really high, this here might be $50. Maybe. Actually, no, that's really high. I'm going to go ahead and say that's $30 per week, right? Which means even after a year, it's like, I'm trying to like do the math. It's like maybe $1,500, and that's if they don't need to dip into it. If they don't need to go into that money, after a year, it's $1,500. Now, say you do this say you've been working for 5 years. Well, that all of a sudden is $50,000 on the standard level. But this, you're looking at maybe, if you're lucky, $7,500. And so this is the problem, is when we don't have a representative minimum wage, which this $1,000 a week is still like, I don't believe that's even $15 an hour. Yeah, that's not even $15 an hour. Just so you know, that's about $20 some an hour. But that incremental spending is like not happening. So people don't have the money, because normally what you'd think is people would have money to put in savings, and so then in case COVID happens, they have a nice little like fallback. The which one? The $50,000? Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's what economics. That's this 20% is what economic whatever people say you should have. That's what they say you should. You have to remember, though, this is $1,500 a year, putting $30 a week in your savings account. Most people can't even do that. And this number here, this $50,000 and the $7,500 is after 5 years. Like, that's just in your savings account, no compounded interest. But that's another the compounded interest conversation for another time. So yeah, it seems like a lot of money, but $1,000 a week is a lot of money. Even $15 an hour would only be $600 a week before taxes. That's if you're only working 40 hours. But the problem is, the problem is going into COVID, because no one had, people in the working class did not have this. Hell, they didn't have this at all. This didn't exist. A lot of people, it was this or worse. Their money in their savings account. I know the number. If you ask people, just ask people like a survey, if anyone has more than $100 in their savings account, a lot of people will say no. A lot of people don't even have a savings account, just to kind of give you a perspective on that one. So we look at this situation where even during COVID, and even looking this through, we kind of start to understand and realize that going into the situation that we did, no one had a fallback. I'm going to get rid of all this because we went through this. All right. So going into the situation, if this is your, say this is your weekly income and this is your savings account, a lot of people and a lot of other countries could be like, oh, okay, I can afford to make less and just pull money out of here, and still, the lighter red was like rent. So you should be spending a quarter of your income on rent. That's not the reality for a lot of people. A lot of people end up spending of your monthly income, I should say. A lot of people end up spending half of their income on rent, and that's a really generous estimate. Even more than that, there's still people who spend up to 75% of money on like rent and living expenses. The darker red was like associated expenses, as far as and these are all rough numbers, but as far as like utilities, like food, that kind of stuff. A lot of people, but a lot of other countries could say, oh, I can just skim a little bit of money off my savings account, substitute that, and still be like, all right, I'm going to go still enjoy going to a restaurant, and that'd be okay, and like order food in. I know the first few months in COVID, I made good money. I make good money, and I was able and have been able to continue to support local businesses through, restaurants and stuff. Granted, that situation has changed a little bit, not because of my choice, but a number of factors that have kind of prevented this from being the truth for me. But the fact is, when we're looking at this minimum wage, the fact that we haven't had a strong minimum wage is part of the reason why these businesses have started failing. So like, say you have you have your mom and pop restaurant here. This business, people don't have the money to go into there, so they shut down. And that's the problem. That's why this minimum wage is such a big deal, because people can't pull money out of here if they're working, and they don't, all of a sudden their hours get cut. So even like small restaurants that are like, hey, maybe like a local sandwich, like a local deli or something that was like, you go there, get a dinner, you get a sandwich, drink, and chips for like $7. They're closing because people don't have that $7 to go out there. Or other, businesses are closing because people don't have the money. Now, this goes into why. So that's number one. That's the number one thing that. Oh shit. Okay, good. Whew. I am glad that my water has a lid on it. But that is why it's so important to understand what the minimum wage is and what these numbers actually mean. when we're looking into these things. So the second large factor to consider here, and something I want to be super clear about and super specific about, is that the $15 minimum wage. First of all, this is an incremental wage. So if this is what the eventual $15 wage is, so right there is 15. Right? That's a $15. And this is, we would be about right here now. That's a $7.25. What happens is this doesn't go to there now. It doesn't. It goes up to $11 for a year, and then it goes up to $12 for a year, and then 13, and then 14, and then 15. So that stair steps. It goes up or maybe it's $9. I don't remember if it's $9 or $10 or whatever. But it stair steps its way up as to not provide, as not to cause economic shock, or the idea that if a business cannot afford to pay its workers, that business closes. So that means that over time, it ends up looking like a more evened off graph, allowing it to be more stable, even though you are making those jumps of $1 an hour. And part of the reason why this is such a good thing is because you can afford it. So like, say if me as an individual, say I'm working, whatever minimum wage, my goes up by $1 per hour, and I'm working 40 hours a week. Well, that's $40 a week. Well, that means roughly 4 meals. That's if you're getting fast food. Maybe 2 meals if you're eating out. Or maybe that $40 a week goes to paying off your phone. That's a phone, all right? That's a phone. There's an antenna there. That's a side antenna. Or maybe that's like a hand loop. I don't know. Whatever. Goes out to paying off your phone, right? $40 a week. Oh, hey, paying off your phone, or paying off debt, or $40 a week in loans. That's why this is such a big deal. That's why increasing the minimum wage, and in this, considering, do you mean inflation? Infatuation? Wait, infatuation, or inflation? I'm guessing you mean inflation. So inflation is an economically an economically aberrant concept. So the idea that a lot of people think inflation is, well, as wages rise, so does the cost, right? Well, the problem with this is it's not true, because we have seen, or they'll say wage, cost, productivity, right? This is a typical argument towards inflation and how inflation works. This is typically what people like to say. And then, of course, time. Because time, going forward. This is what people typically say when they talk about inflation. The problem with inflation is that's not true. Because wages, by and large, so if we we're going to do this as WCPT, all right? So time has continued to go on, right? Productivity has gone up massively, largely through automation, through skilled labor forces. Our productivity is something in the neighborhood of 10 times that it was in the 60s because of advancements in computers. Cost has skyrocketed even further. The cost of a car, Jesus Christ. Okay, let's look at the cost of a car. Is it wages over time cost of, oh no, well, the cost of a house over time. All right. This was written in 2017. That's fine. Okay. So this is the median home value. I always get median and mean misconstrued, but basically the median is like the midpoint of a series of numbers. So if I have 12 numbers, the median is this x n over 2. So basically you find whatever the middle number is. I think that median is kind of misgiving, but you know. So in 1940, the median houses was $3,000. In 2000, it was $120,000. This is pretty, like, to me, I see this and I'm like, God, that's a really good price. I paid more, but you know. But here's what those values look like. So like this is like, so $2,000. If we look at wages, I want to see if no, I don't want. Hold on. When did minimum wage? When did minimum wage start? Because there's like a way you can check it with when minimum wage started, and I believe minimum wage in the United States. Okay. Perfect. Federal Minimum Wage Act. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where it started at. 1938 at 25 cents an hour. All right. So, when they say something in so many dollars, don't listen to that. That's largely that's largely a miscalculated number. When you look at that kind of stuff, you're much better off looking at cost versus wages. So 25 cents an hour compared to roughly the same time, $3,000 houses. So we'll do it this way. So that means you would need to. This is just paying on your home. Oh no, hold on. Yeah, 0.25. Is that right? No, hold on. Sorry. God, I'm doing it wrong. You need to work about 12,000 hours to pay off a home, which if you divide that by, number of hours, or no, sorry. Oh my God, number of years. If you divide that by 12, how many years would that be? That's not right. Shit, no. I would need to redo the math on it. But basically, the idea is number of hours, so you divide that by 40. Hold on. So divided by 40 to determine how many weeks, and then you divide by number of 4 to find the months, and then 12. So roughly, if you were just paying off your house and you kept 100% of your wages, it would be a little over 6 years to pay off your home. Okay. That's okay. We know our number. Now, minimum wage in 2000, I believe, was $5.15. Minimum wage in $5.15. So, if we take that same house, $120,000, and then I'm flailing on the math here. All right, one sec. So 5.15 times 40, $206 a week, and then we'll assume 4 weeks a year. Oh wait, hold on. Divided by 4, we'll times that by 52. So, and then we'll say 10.5. That same house would be 11 years to pay off. This is, when people are considering inflation, this is the actual understanding of how you actually should be looking at inflation. Not just because, not like home, and the reason I say this is because home values and wages are, home values are very, very stable, considering when you look at the values of housing, compared to a lot of other things. A home will always increase in price, where a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk and other kind of stuff like that can fluctuate a lot heavier. But your home values are a lot more predictable. They're a lot more stable. You can easily determine what like the value of a home is going to be based on the value of other homes. Like they're always going to evaluate the home until we decommodify the housing market. The value of a home will always rise. It's just a much more stable way to look at it. So when you're comparing minimum wage and you're comparing actual money of that minimum wage, looking at goods and looking at goods like that is very, very difficult. A lot of people will be like, oh, the cost of bread or the cost of milk. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I could fill up a grocery cart for $20. There's a very real difference there, but like, what does that mean to today? Because I can't do the same thing today. If I fill up a grocery cart full of stuff, it's not $20. I'll tell you that much. But there's a very real difference in that number, in that calculation. So when you're considering wages, the best way to look at what wages mean is the cost of a home, and using the median is a pretty good indication. I think because the median can do a pretty good job about getting a lot of the outliers out there. I think the mean is the one I'm thinking of. No, because the mean is the average. There's a I don't remember the I don't remember the value of it directly, but the home value is. So anyway, so back to our little analysis here. Normally you see cost go up, production go up, time increasing. Well, the actual reality is wages have not gone up. They've not gone up as high. They've gone up, but they've not gone up as high compared to cost, productivity, and time. So that's why this is such a big deal. Okay, so why then does this not need a debate? I know this segment's getting really long in the tooth, but we're gonna, sorry, a little bit more theory heavy than I wanted to, but why does this not need a debate? Well, as we've already discussed, and we saw from the data, like we literally just did the numbers on this, just did the calculations on this. Actually, let me redo that $3,000 home calculation just so I know I'm speaking accurately. So 0.25 times 40 times 52 is still 520. Okay, yeah, so that was about accurate. So 3,000 divided by 520. Oh, so it's actually less time, 5 3/4 of a year. So it's literally doubled. It's decreased by a factor of 2. From roughly 1940 to the year 2000. So this is why that's important. It's important to know that real value, that real number. And a lot of, like I said, because cost of living is a very important thing, we're also seeing a decrease in home ownership and an increase in rentals, which is another problem, but it's not really, it's something that can be tied to minimum wage, but not something that necessarily is going to get 100% addressed by increasing the minimum wage. It's a really weird and complicated situation. Of course, anything economics is difficult, but hey, wages are strange. Minimum wage is really complicated. Figuring out that number. I think the general number that I tend to like and tend to lean to is $20 an hour. I think $20 an hour is a much more fair value, but 15, I'm going to fight tooth and nail for that shit. Are you fucking kidding me? Like I said earlier, perfect should not be the enemy of good. So, why is there no debate around this? Well, a lot of people want to debate the merits of a minimum wage, and the problem with doing that is basically saying, obviously outside of the moral argument, because moral arguments can be iffy, so I like to go for a more fact-based numerical approach. So, when you are looking at two individuals, individual one, there we go, there's a body. Individual one making so much money. Individual two making some more money, and we'll say a third individual. So say individual one works for. So say this is this is person three. Number one, 3 employs number one, right? Number two works for number 4. Well, the problem a lot of people like to say is, well, how can people afford wages? So number 4 employs number 2. Well, how can we afford to increase wages, and how can we afford to pay people a higher minimum wage? Say number 2, these people work in IT, right? And these people work in food. I'm going to say a big F. F-O. F sub O. F sub 0. So these two people work in IT. They're going to, on average, make more money than someone working in the restaurant industry. It's just a matter of fact. Not really. So obviously, there's the moral argument of why should someone working in the restaurant industry not make as much money, considering that they are happy, they enjoy what they do. We need people in our society to be flipping burgers and making food. Obviously, yes, they deserve a minimum wage or a living wage. But currently, as it exists, people kind of misunderstand this point. Say this person isn't a super high paid person. Say they make currently $11 an hour, right? They do low level IT support. Like they work at like an office building, and their job is basically managing people's networks accounts, right? $11 an hour, not really a skilled labor job, something that a lot of people can pick up, but they're whatever, they're young. Or doesn't matter, maybe not even young. Maybe they're just someone who this is the job they're in, and they like their job, they're cool, right? This person makes minimum, so $7.25. That's current minimum wage. Well, say person 3 charges $10 per meal, right? So person 2 here can buy 1.1 meals. This person has the buying power of 1.1 meals per hour, right? That means this person needs to work 1 hour to afford 1 meal. And this person over here, even after costs, needs to sell 1 meal per hour. This has some anonymous value X that we're not going to worry about. This person here, even after costs and everything, we're assuming 1 meal per hour pays person person 3, sells 1 meal an hour, pays person number 1's wages. Cool. That's pretty basic. People will make arguments on blah, 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 whatever. But in all reality, we've all been to fucking McDonald's. We know how much they sell. Shit, I drive by McDonald's every day. Well, whenever I drive somewhere. But that is basically our current system. Let's say, all of a sudden, these two people, their wages go up to 15. A lot of people are going to look at this. This is the traditional lens that people in this position and the peanut gallery down here who are not in any of this position say is all of a sudden this person, in order to make this person's wages, they need to double their... Oh, shit. I want my pen. They need to sell 2... They need to double and say 2 meals per hour to pay this person. Yes, technically that's true. So a lot of people say, well, what's going to happen then? Is they're going to still want to do that same, have that same ratio. So in order to keep that to be 1, this is going to be 20. That's not going to happen. We've seen this. This has not happened. Other countries, if this was the case, other countries' economies that have already collapsed. No other country is charging $20 a meal for McDonald's. That's just not happening. However, there is a fundamental change. So this is not the case. It is not 1 meal per hour. It is still 2. Right? However, what we see here is this person has an effective buying rate of 1.5 meals per hour. What does that mean? In all reality, this price here, yeah, it's going to go up. It's not going to go up much, but it's largely going to go up because inflation tends to happen more when we have more physical currency going through the market. It's a weird phenomenon that we don't exactly have a hard down nailed on reason for, specifically because it's just a lot of really complicated math and a lot of really complicated stuff going into it. But we've seen historically, data shows that the more currency we put into a economy, the higher the inflation is. So that will tend to be, this will probably go to like $11 an hour, which would actually make this like 1.4 something. But still an increase in buying power for this person over here. What this means is that now person 2 can spend money. We're going to make another person 5 here who owns another restaurant, a second restaurant. Say that they only go out and they only buy 1 meal a day because it's too much. Well, now maybe every day, maybe this person 3 days a week buys another meal over here. Right? So now we've seen another business start to get more money. And say then you have another person who we're going to call this person 6, who this person 6, their standard purchasing is from person 5. But then the exact same thing like person 2, they go 3 days a week and buy from person 3. So you've seen an increase in sales because people, Jesus Christ. Oh my god, my cat scared the shit out of me. Hey. Oh, dumbass. Get the fuck out of here. Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Alright. Sorry. Now, where was I? Alright. So what we actually see, the phenomenon we actually see is when people have an increased amount of buying power, people spend that money. It's just like there's this really common myth that billionaires and millionaires are the people who create jobs. And that's false. We know that. We teach this in school. This is Capitalism 101. Or at least was what people claim is Capitalism 101. And really it's Markets 101. So we all understand this. We all understand this idea of what's going on here and like this kind of stuff. We get that. That's good. Now, let's take this to another level. So, a lot of people make the claim, falsely, that this billionaire class here creates all these jobs. They're the ones who rain the jobs down from the sky to feed the people, right? There's people down here. They're getting jobs. You're getting a job. You're getting a job. You're all getting jobs. Yay. There's like a billionaire there, maybe. And this person creates all these jobs. Well, there's a problem with that. It ain't true. Billionaires don't make jobs. Millionaires don't make jobs because they have no incentive to. There is no incentive for them to make more jobs because their goal, just like everyone else's goal, for the most part, is to take their money and make it go up. They want more money. They don't make money by paying people to do stuff that they don't need to. So their job is not to increase. Well, their goal is not to increase. Their goal is to decrease the number of jobs. What does create more jobs is this little known factor. It starts with a D. Can anyone guess it? I'll give you a hint. There's a giant D, a little E, an M. Yep, demand. It is demand. the number one driver of jobs. Yeah. Oh, and Dick. Dick is the number one. Dick's the number two driver of jobs. Demand is the number one driver of jobs. If my money goes, my monthly income goes from this to all of a sudden I get this much more, and I'm not, super wealthy, this much more is gonna get spent. Maybe I like to play Magic the Gathering. Hint, I do. Maybe I'm gonna buy more Magic the Gathering cards. I'm gonna be investing that money in my local comic shop. I like to eat. I like maybe not fancy, but I like local restaurants. I'm gonna go to more local restaurants. I'm gonna go try this new place. I enjoy, I enjoy playing video games. I'm gonna buy, maybe I'm gonna go to an arcade and spend some money at the arcade. Maybe I'm gonna go spend money on a new game, that came out recently that I really want, called Werewolf the Apocalypse. Not making any large statements there, but making a hint, if you would. Maybe I want to buy Werewolf the Apocalypse, which I can't buy right now. That'd be kind of cool. But that money is going to get reinvested into the economy. If you give a millionaire an extra, what's going to happen if you give a billionaire an extra $40 a year? They're going to sit on it. They're going to do nothing with it. What happens if you give an average extra $40 a week? They're going to sit on it. They're going to do nothing. What happens if you give someone that's earning minimum wage an extra $40 a week? They're going to spend it. That money is going to get reinvested into the economy. So this person over here, this is the burger person. You're getting my beautiful artwork today. I apologize for nothing. Fuck you. There's the meat. Maybe there's some lettuce. A tomato on top. We'll say there's cheese too. There's a burger. Whatever. Sesame seed bun. Maybe this person owns this burger restaurant. All of a sudden they're selling 30 burgers an hour, right? Well, now, because more people can come and spend, that what they can do is they're selling 50 burgers an hour. So yes, their costs go up, but their income goes up more. Because since people can spend more money, they have more available income, they have more discretionary budget, they spend more money. So raising the minimum wage is objectively a good thing. This is why this does not need a debate around it. The only debate we need around it is why we should be going to $21 an hour and not $15. But hey, like I said, perfect, not going to get in the way of good. All right? Now, so like I said, it's a really, really, I don't want to say complicated situation, but it's a really nuanced situation that a lot of people are leaving out the full understanding and the full drive level of the numbers here. There's a lot of people who don't fully grasp what those economic values look like, how that kind of works and ties into the larger economy, and how this all plays into the bigger picture. It's really important that we understand this. It's really important that when we are basing policy decisions and we're basing other things like that, we're making sure that we give factual and appropriate information for the situations we find ourselves in. That's what I'm trying to do with this. That's why I'm trying to talk about this in a more nuanced and directed way than just saying, oh, hey, Senator Sienna bad, Senator Manchin bad. Yeah, they're bad. We understand they're bad. But why is it that what they did was bad at a deeper level? Obviously, these Democrats voted against it. They are voting against the working class. They, by all means, want you to stay poor. But how does that work down to the numbers level? So, I hope all of you found this insightful. Those of you who are watching live, YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to follow me on Twitch. I try and stream every week. I'm going to start up doing some Magic the Gathering streams. I want to start getting weekday streams in too, but it's just kind of hard and difficult, and I got to figure that stuff out. But, give me a follow on Twitch. Maybe if you've got a Prime sub, feel free to give me your Prime sub. That'd be kind of amazing. And definitely thank all of you for watching on YouTube, and enjoy the rest of your evening.